What's going on YouTube? So on the list of the world's most influential vehicles, the Ford Mustang would certainly be one of them. And today we're getting to spend time with the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Now, as you'd expect, this has quite a few horses to share with us. So let's go ahead and check it out. So where else could we start out with this review other than under the hood? Because this is where we have that V8 American muscle to back up this muscle car. So what do we have with the Dark Horse? Well, that's going to be the most powerful version currently offered of the 5-liter Coyote V8 engine. It's going to be making 500 horsepower, even 418 pound-feet of torque, which is going to be good for a 0 to 60 in about 3.7 seconds.
Those are very impressive figures. You're going to have a 6-speed manual transmission as standard on the Dark Horse. You have an optional automatic as well. And as far as fuel economy, for those of you that care, which probably isn't very many of you all, 17 miles a gallon combined, which does indeed mean that you get the gas guzzler tax.
But you're not going to mind when you see what this is like out on the road, which is something we're going to show you guys later on in the video when we do an extensive test drive. But first, let's close up the hood because there's a lot of really cool things to show you guys with this new generation of the Mustang. Now, first off, before we get into this, we have a couple people to thank. First of all, special thanks to Craig Stevenson, the owner of this beautiful Dark Horse, for letting us check this out today. You are the man. And also special thanks to the great guys at Gorilla Shine in Lexington for lining up this opportunity for us. They did an excellent job of making sure this Dark Horse was looking its best and protected for years to come. They have lots of other services available, so make sure to check them out for all your cleaning and protection needs. Now, as soon as you walk up to this Dark Horse, wow, does it make a great first impression. Now, obviously, this is the new generation of the Mustang, but what they've done is really, I think, tied in a lot of the heritage elements super well to make it look both modern and also timeless. Now, with Dark Horse, you're going to have the most aggressive version of everything offered. So you're going to see that right up here in the front. You have a lot of aggressive air intakes kind of integrated into the fascia, top and lower elements as well. Obviously, this down here is going to really stand out because it's a very aggressive aerodynamic piece that's going to run through here. Just be careful, there's no lift, so it is setting pretty low to the ground, but still, it looks really cool. I also love the gloss black accents down here at the bottom, and you have the really cool hood graphics and hood scoop up here because it's all about aerodynamics and getting that airflow into the big V8 engine. Now, let's take a look at the headlights. Of course, they're going to be full LED headlights, and no Mustang would be complete without having the awesome sequential turn signal indicators. They have an updated look this year. I think, like I said, looks very modern and fresh. Now, as you walk around to the rear, it's going to perhaps be even more obvious that this is the Dark Horse than the front.
Yeah, it looks so good. But why is it so obvious? Well, you're going to get this giant deck lid spoiler here for the Dark Horse model. Looks really phenomenal and also has a lot of function as well. But in every Car Confections review, we do see if all the taillight elements are LED, so we're going to go ahead and check that out. So we do have an LED brake light portion, LED reverse light integrated down here, and you have the sequential LED turn signal. Really phenomenal look. I love the taillight design and how it kind of goes in and then back out. Really good for this new generation. Now, down here at the bottom, this is also where you're going to be clued in that this is a Dark Horse model because we have a quad exhaust outlet system. It looks fantastic in the dark finish, and it has a standard active exhaust system for the Dark Horse that you can even remotely rev. So let's go ahead and get into that revving because I'm sure you're wanting to hear it. So let's go ahead and do the remote revving function. So in order to do this, you just remote start the vehicle. So in order to rev it, you push the unlock and then hold the lock. And once more. That's got to be one of the coolest features on any vehicle.
Now moving on to our wheels, obviously this new generation of Mustang is going to have a lot of different choices. As far as the Dark Horse is concerned though, we have 19-inch alloy wheels in the front and the back. They're going to be a little bit wider in the rear, and they have a really cool kind of matte gray finish to them, which I think looks very, very nice. Now what's important though down here at the wheel is the fact that with the optional handling package, which we do have today, that is going to upgrade you to a lot more aggressive rubber. So we have the Pirelli P0 Trofeo RSs. It's a very aggressive tire. It's going to obviously stick to the road. And when it's time to stop, you also have these 15.4-inch 6-piston Brembo brakes. Now, moving on from that, we have our Dark Horse badge over here. You are going to have an exclusive dark gray finish up here on the mirrors, in addition to your standard heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now here at the side, you see that traditional muscle car proportion. You have the really long hood with the big V8 under there. And as far as the overall vehicle length, we're coming in at 189.7 inches long. Now, I do want to talk about your safety systems briefly because Ford is including 3 out of your 4 active safety features as standard equipment on this Mustang model. But I won't waste much more time. Let's go ahead and check out the inside before we get to that test drive portion. But before, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now let's go ahead and move on to the interior. First, of course, we'll take a look at the key fob. We do have a Mustang branded key fob. It doesn't have Dark Horse or anything on it, but you do have smart entry as well as remote start. And to get inside, just grab behind the handle. That will unlock the door. Now as I swing open the long door, you'll be greeted with a totally different interior. Actually, the interior really is more different from the outgoing generation than the exterior is. And you also have a lot of upgraded technology. We'll get into that. But first, let's talk about your seat material and color choices. So with the Dark Horse, you're going to have the choice between cloth or the optional leather-trimmed Recaro seats. As you can tell, that is what we have selected here with today's model. These are very aggressive Recaro seats. So you've got the giant bolsters here on the side that are really going to hold you in place when you're driving aggressively. Alcantara's in the center section, and it's traced in this kind of dark blue, which I think looks really, really good. Now, as far as the seats themselves, they are going to be manual adjusting with the Recaros. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that we're fully inside here, let's take a look at some overall cabin materials. Starting out with our door trim, we do have a leather material down here on the armrest. You have the indigo accent through there and Alcantara above that. Top part is going to be soft touch, and we have a faux carbon fiber running through there. Now as we move to the upper dash, we're going to have soft touch plastic through here as well. You have more of this carbon fiber trim, and then you have over here your Dark Horse badge, which does have the model number. So this is number 991. This, of course, is going to be a limited production run on this trim level. Now down through here, we do have a leatherette for your knee to rest against as well. Everything feels nice and solid. And even though you will notice that you're kind of missing that classic Mustang dome, it is kind of simulated a little bit in the way the gauges are set up inside of the display, which you're going to see as soon as I start this up. Now I went ahead and switched into a first-person perspective so we can take a closer look at a lot of the details. First off, we have our gauge cluster, of course. This is what I was saying is a big difference because we have a 12.4-inch digital display here, which is going to substitute in for the traditional analog gauges. But one of the things that Ford has done to kind of make this transition better for the owners is the fact that we have a lot of different configurations of the gauges. So one of the cool buttons that you have over here, if you press this button, this is going to take you to all your vehicle settings. This has a lot of important things inside of this area here, including our active exhaust modes. We also have customization of ambient lighting, things like that. But what I'm going to look at right now is our cluster themes. So you can match this to the drive mode. You have normal, sport, track, calm. But what we're in right now is actually a simulation of the Fox body Mustang from 87 to 93. So that's why it has that kind of traditional look. This is what our track view is going to look like. This is obviously our most aggressive design, and then you also have the sport mode, which I think is kind of a really cool look for a modern futuristic design. We don't have a head-up display, by the way. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have a new design. Really nice looking flat bottom. It's going to be leather wrapped. We have indigo stitching running through there. The wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. We do also have heating, which comes on all of the premium models in the Mustang lineup. Now, even though this is a Mustang, it does not exclude it from the donut test, so let's pop open the center console here and take a look. What do we have? Well, we have 5 donuts inside. That's how many is going to fit inside of this center console, which is honestly not too bad given the performance chops of this model. As you'll see later, many of the other elements are actually pretty good in terms of utility. We have our 2 cup holders right there. Up in the front, we have a large storage bin. This is going to be a wireless phone charging pad on premium models as well. As you can see, we do have the automatic transmission on this model. So you're just going to pull back for drive. You can go back to the M for manual mode, and you do have these paddle shifters up here on the steering wheel. When in reverse, you have a very clear and nice looking backup camera. This is going to give active trajectory as well, and you have standard rear parking sensors. No 360 camera option though. And then back behind that, you have this little guy here, which is kind of interesting because it looks like a traditional handbrake. It is actually electronic, so if you just pull it back like that, it goes back to center, and that's what's going to turn on your parking brake. And then if you want to disengage that, you press down on it, and that will take it off. Now, I already showed you guys the Mustang button there. You also have a few more customizable buttons through there, and then you have a traditional volume knob. We've got the 12-speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, so let's go ahead and give that a sample. Wow, I'm actually very impressed by this sound system. If for whatever reason you do grow tired of listening to that awesome V8 exhaust note, you always have the option to crank that bad boy up and to hear some really nice sounding music. Alright, so now we're going to get into the main display. That's kind of one of the things that's changed a lot with this new generation of the Mustang, is that a lot of our functionality has moved from manual buttons down here in the lower areas into the display. Primarily, that's going to include the climate controls, which you'll see are now down here on your lower part of the display. Overall, it seems nice and responsive. It is going to take a little getting used to, just kind of hitting the smaller targets along the bottom, but everything's going to be, automatic here. It is going to be a dual zone automatic setup, of course. You can also press that button there to activate some additional climate functions and turn the climate control on and off entirely. Now, more luxury-oriented Mustangs, you would also have heated and ventilated seat controls. We're just going to have the heated steering wheel on today's model. And as far as the display itself, this is a large display. It's 13.2 inches. Right now we're in Android Auto. We also have Apple CarPlay. Both of them are going to run wirelessly because this is Ford's newest Sync 4 system. So we have all the latest software. And as you can see, they really did a lot of work on graphics. That's something that really stands out. The graphics for both the gauge cluster as well as this main display are very crisp, very high quality, and overall performance is pretty good, although occasionally you do kind of see a few laggy things when you first start up the vehicle, but once it's been running for a little while, everything kind of smooths out and works nicely. Now, rising above here, we do have an auto-dimming mirror. It does have a nice frameless design, and your home link remotes are going to be located in the visor. Taking a look up top here, we don't have a sunroof. Sunroof continues to not be available on the Mustang at all because Ford says, if you want one, just get the convertible.
Now, for those of you who are wanting a dark horse and need to sell your significant other on it, this does have a rear seat. Now, I'm not sure they'll want the kids to be back here in this rear seat, but it's actually not as bad as you would think. So I'm going to go ahead and hop back there and show you what it's all about. Getting in, honestly, isn't too bad at all. And then as far as the space figures are concerned in this rear area, we actually do have 29 inches of legroom, about 35 inches of headroom. So for someone who's 5'9" like myself, you will find that the headroom's a little bit uncomfortable, but I honestly find the legroom to not be too bad. 29 inches is not bad at all. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and if we go ahead and recline that back, I believe you can grab this little, this lever right here will recline the seat back, and I have about 2 inches of knee space. So honestly, not too bad, and I will say these seats are actually quite comfortable. And moving further into the selling process for your significant other, let's check out the cargo area, because this is not nearly as bad as you would think. 13.3 cubic feet of cargo capacity in this Mustang Dark Horse, which honestly, that's just about as good as a lot of sedans. So certainly not a bad figure whatsoever. I will say it's a little bit narrow, but you're seeing right now, you can actually fold the rear seats down in this Mustang. They fold 50-50 split, and when you do that, you actually have quite a long distance. And guys, you aren't going to believe your eyes, because yes, I did get out my measuring tape so I can measure from the front seat to the rear of the cargo area. We're sitting at 72 inches of length. So you can definitely fit long things in here, just probably not very tall things, because as far as the overall height, we're sitting at about 18 inches of depth. And as far as the opening, we're only sitting at about 23 inches wide. So you might have trouble getting it in there, but once you get it in the cargo area, it definitely is a lot more spacious than you would expect. Well, guys, we are behind the wheel of the all-new Ford Mustang Dark Horse, so we are so excited to be behind the wheel of this vehicle and show you all that it has to offer. As you can see, we'll be talking about all the different things on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading. It's a Car Confections signature element, and this vehicle is also a vehicle that you can live with every day. So let's see how quiet it is. But first, we're going to get that heart acceleration for all of you who have been waiting for this. Yes.
There's the sound of American muscle right there.
Whew.
Now, of course, we spoke about this in the spec dump, but this is the Coyote V8 with 500 horsepower. And, when you put your foot down, you can certainly feel that. And we also, of course, turned on the sport exhaust because, obviously.
Yeah, it's in sport mode. There is a louder mode, the track mode, but we wanted to kind of give you oh, it sounds so good, guys. Oh my goodness. And not only does it just sound phenomenal, this is good to get you to 60 miles an hour in 3.7 seconds. That is insane horsepower and performance figures out of a Mustang. I never thought I would say it's getting 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds out of a kind of normal-ish. This is not like a GT500 Mustang.
Right, it's not a Shelby, but we still have tremendous performance.
Wow.
As you can tell, we do have the ten-speed automatic transmission on board. As far as this transmission is concerned, I think it's nice and responsive. As you can see, I am using the paddle shifters right now. So when you press those down, you do get that shift pretty quickly. Many of them are immediate, some of them are about 1 second But overall, pretty responsive. And of course, like Mason was mentioning in the beginning of this test drive, I think the reason why this particular owner probably went with the automatic is that everyday livability. That's kind of why that is offered, is because even though you have that pure experience with the 6-speed manual, and I'm sure that is very enjoyable in its own right, this is the configuration that is going to allow you just to live with this every single day, drive in traffic, stuff like that, and it's not going to annoy you.
Yeah. One thing I also do want to add into the conversation is that if you choose the 6-speed manual model, that's a standard option. You do also get a launch control if you choose that manual. Shifting gets a lot more aggressive in sport mode.
Absolutely. And I think importantly, you obviously do have the limited slip diff, but also these high performance tires really help put the power down, because you'll notice even when you're accelerating very hard, it still feels quite stable and everything. And obviously we're off the country road, but as far as the driving dynamics are concerned, this obviously is very impressive. This is a vehicle that has a very high performance ceiling, one that we're not going to be pushing on this test drive because, obviously this is not our vehicle and want to be respectful to the owner, but this is really a high performance machine, and you can tell that as soon as you go around a corner, just nice, balanced. This is not like the old school muscle car that you may have driven, 20 years ago, that was kind of sloppy, but all about that big V8. These new Mustangs are real performance machines all around. One of the things I also like is that you can separate your drive modes a little bit. So you have a custom drive mode, of course, so that's where you can do things like change your adaptive dampers, which this does have, by the way. You can also separate the drive mode from the steering drive mode. So if you prefer a different setting, say you want the sports steering, but you want to keep it in the normal mode, you are able to do that very easily by using just these two steering wheel controls.
Yeah, for sure. I like that customizability. And Drew did go ahead and say that this vehicle does have adaptive dampers, so I want to go ahead and get into a few of those practicality bits for those of you that are going to be driving your Dark Horse on the daily. Hopefully a lot of you guys will actually really use these performance vehicles as much as they can be. So I'm going to go ahead and push the pony here, and the pony is going to allow me to go and put the exhaust in quiet mode. This kind of hurts me to do this, but I do want to go ahead and put it in the quietest setting for you guys. And now that we've done that, going 55 miles an hour, let's go ahead and get our sound level reading. .4 decibels is our official sound level reading, going 55 miles per hour. Now, that is something that I am very impressed by. This active exhaust system, when you put it in quiet mode, it seriously means quiet. I mean, for a vehicle that is, dare I say, obnoxiously loud, which is a totally compliment in a muscle car, it really tones it down to be a very everyday livable vehicle when you put it in quiet exhaust mode. And overall, the ride quality is very impressive with the adaptive dampers. We've been driving around earlier today, not in the sport mode, and it does a great job of soaking up the bumps, more so than what you would certainly expect out of a Mustang. So this is a vehicle you can definitely have everyday drive.
Exactly. Those are just things that help you have that everyday ability. Starting up the vehicle on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. when you go to Cars and Coffee, your neighbors aren't going to cuss you out. Benefits, neighborly relations.
As far as a few other practical bits, fuel economy is not going to be fantastic. As I mentioned at the spec dump, the Dark Horse with the automatic comes in at 17 miles a gallon combined, which does mean you do have to pay the gas guzzler tax. It's only about $1,000 though, so for most of you guys that's not going to matter too much. And I do think we should go ahead and talk about our airball and slam dunk for this Dark Horse. It's, of course, very difficult to come up with an airball, but we'll start out with the slam dunk.
Yeah, the slam dunk is just the overall performance and powertrain. You know, these muscle cars, these V8 muscle cars, they're dying. Unfortunately, they're dying. It's not going to be long. We won't have a Challenger. We won't have a Camaro. But Ford went ahead and redesigned the Mustang. They didn't even have to, really, because there's no competition coming up. But they went ahead and redesigned it, and they kept all those classic things that people really love about the Mustang. Most importantly, the big 5-liter V8.
Yeah. And as far as the airball, like I said, there's not very many options here, but we will say the price has risen quite a bit on all of the versions of the Mustang, and especially when you're looking at a dark horse model like this that's fully loaded out. We're very much in a price point that the Mustang has not really occupied before, unless you're in a Shelby model. And the very last thing to mention here would be your warranty. It's going to be 3-year 36,000 miles for your basic, 5-year 60,000 miles for your powertrain, and Ford does not do complimentary maintenance. Now, you probably already knew this, but the Dark Horse is the most expensive Mustang that you can actually get on sale of this new generation just now. So the Dark Horse starts a little under $60,000 at $59,270. Now, if you want the Dark Horse Premium, that's going to be $63,600, and there are quite a few different options. So as you can see on this particular tester, we've gone for quite a few of those options. All told, after the gas guzzler tax and the $1,595 destination, we're sitting at $74,300 as tested today. Now, if you're a smart shopper and if you're looking to buy a Ford Mustang or any new vehicle, the next place you're going to go to is carconfections.com/newcarquotes. On there, we have a tool that will allow you to be connected with local dealers in your area to get you the best price, as well as access to invoice pricing information. If you want to take advantage of that, a link is provided in the video description. And guys, that's where we're going to leave off on this in-depth review of the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang Dark Horse. Once again, a special thanks to the owner as well as Gorilla Shine for setting up this review so we can drive and show you all this very special Mustang. If you enjoyed watching, please hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already to join in on this Car Confections family. We do a lot of really cool car reviews that I'm sure you won't want to miss out on. If you're already a fan and supporter, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.